Phillies fans are enjoying Wrigleyville before these two teams wrap up the season series. We are at Wrigley Field for Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. The Cubs try to earn a series split against the Phillies, and we welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. And hi again, everyone. Beautiful night at the ballpark, along with Bob Brenly. I'm Len Casper. The Phillies won Game 1 last night, 9-2. The Cubs bullpen struggled, but another good start from Matt Garza, and the starters have been really good against the Phillies this year.
Well, they fortunately ran up against the Phillies back in Philadelphia when they were really struggling to get hits and score runs, but Matt Garza was really good last night, and hopefully they'll be able to continue the dominating trend that the starting pitchers have had, not only against the Phillies, but against just about everybody.
Well, they don't play these games on paper. If you looked at the matchup tonight, it might be tough. Chris Volstad hasn't won in his last 18 starts.
Yeah, he really needs a good outing, Len. He got banged around in Milwaukee. Once again, the problem was pitching out of the stretch, his inability to command his pitches, get him down in the zone, and the Brewers really made him pay.
A perennial Cy Young contender. He's won 2 in his career. Roy Halladay, but he's only 1-5 against the Cubs.
Yeah, go figure. They seem to have his number. One thing you know for sure, he's going to throw the ball over the plate. You're going to get opportunity to swing the bats.
Well, no question the Cubs will not be looking ahead to the White Sox series this weekend. They want to beat Roy Halladay for the second time this season. Alfonso Soriano has a 2-game homer streak. He'll try to continue that. Phillies and Cubs next. By Budweiser. A reminder from Budweiser, great times are waiting. Designated driver. Pepsi Max. Visit MLB.com/Pepsi Max for your chance to play ball against some of the greatest baseball legends of all time. The games begin at MLB.com/Pepsi Max. The Illinois Lottery. Do you believe in the power of possibility? The Illinois Lottery. Anything's possible. And by Ford, manufacturers of more fuel-efficient vehicles than any other brand. Check them out at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. Chicago Cubs baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Tonight's game is available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting, provided by WRTO, La Tremenda, Chicago Spanish language sports leader.
Let's get Charlie Manuel's Phillies lineup. They're trying to get over 500 for the first time since day one of the season. Rollins, Pierre, Victorino at the top. Just like last night. Pence, Ruiz, Wigginton in the middle. Hector Luna in his first plate appearance as a Philly hit a grand slam last night. Freddie Galvis at second and Roy Halladay the pitcher.
And let's check out how the Cubs take the field defensively tonight behind Chris Volstad, brought to you by Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. Soriano, Campana, and De Jesus once again across the outfield, left to right. Stewart, Castro, Barney, LaHare once again across the infield, third to first. Late change behind the plate. Giovanni Soto was in the original starting lineup, but has some inflammation. Castillo will get the start tonight. He'll be receiving pitches from right-hander Chris Volstad.
Been a while.
Yeah.
18 consecutive starts, 10 losses, 8 no decisions. That goes back to the middle of last year when he was pitching for the then Florida Marlins. Let's get the umpires. The crew chief is St. Louis native Jerry Davis, and he's working home plate. Cuzzy, Gibson, Carpazza on the bases. Here we go. Jimmy Rollins leading off, and the switch hitting shortstop takes a sinker low. When asked tonight before the game what he's looking for from his starting pitcher, Dale Swaim said, "Gotta keep it down. He's a sinker ball pitcher." And you talk about when you miss, you want to miss in your favor, and for him that's missing low.
And one thing to keep an eye on tonight, and we alluded to it in the open of the show, he's been pretty good out of the windup with his ability to keep that sinker down. However, when opposing teams get runners on base, he really struggles to get that sinker down around the knees, leaves a lot of pitches up, belt high and above.
Had that one bad inning, it seems, in just about every start, as Rollins starts the game with a single into right center. Well, warming up, and it should be a lovely weekend as the White Sox come to the north side starting tomorrow afternoon. 63 degrees. A brisk wind at 1 mile an hour out of the east. It's blowing in.
Similar wind that we saw in batting practice earlier today, and it did not really affect any of the batted balls for either team.
Former Cub Juan Pierre with Rollins on and nobody out. Pierre last night 2 for 3 with a double and a stolen base, but also committed an error right in front of the Alfonso Soriano 2-run homer. It was a Brian LaHare fly ball, about as routine as it gets, and he just missed it. Volstad can't get it. Castro better hurry. Oh, what a play. He made it look easy, but it was not. With the way Juan Pierre runs, Castro had to very quickly get rid of the ball, and he got him.
It just seems so odd. You never really worry about Starlin Castro on plays like this when he just has to react and do what he does athletically. He rarely makes a mistake. It's when he has a lot of time to think about that throw to first base that he's had some fielding issues, but he can't do it any better than this. Scoop and throw all in one motion, gets a lot on the throw, right to Brian LaHare for the out.
So Rollins now in scoring position for Shane Victorino, who looks at ball one outside. No Placido Polanco in the starting lineup. He had to exit early last night with a left knee bruise. That's why Hector Luna gets a start at first. Ty Wigginton over at third tonight for the Phillies.
Well, that coupled with the fact that Hector Luna hit a grand slam in the ball game last night, that will buy you some extra playing time.
And Volstad steps off and asks Wellington Castillo to come out and chat. As always, we would like you to keep in touch. You can email us at lenonbob@tribune.com and follow us on our Facebook and Twitter pages as well. Volstad ready to continue. And he wants Castillo to give him the signs again. And now he steps off. All right, take 2. 3-0. Hunter Pence on deck, hitless last night. Caught the outside corner. This Volstad is 6-8. Big downhill angle on that sinker. As you get the splits on the switch hitting Victorino. And that one too low for ball 4.
When you think about inning management, that's not the worst possible thing that can happen right there. The walk to Shane Victorino sets up a potential inning-ending double play if Volstad can keep that sinker down on Hunter Pence.
Quiet night for Pence last night, a day after he was a hero in Philadelphia against the Astros on Tuesday with the game-winning homer. Really spreads out in that box. He takes up about the entire box diagonally. Back foot right near that catcher's box. Really opens up with the left foot and swings and misses.
Very unique stance. So many of the offensive players in the game nowadays very similar in their setup in that batter's box. There's nobody like Hunter Pence.
Well, he has dug quite a hole.
Yep. Right on that back line, maybe a little behind the back line, but as we talked about before, you're considered to be in the batter's box if any part of your foot is in contact with any part of that back line. The odd thing for me is the way he chokes up on that bat. Of course, the most notable power hitter that choked up was Barry Bonds. He would choke up a couple of inches on the bat, but Hunter Pence, another guy that can generate a lot of power, choked up about 1.5 inches on that bat.
Swing and a miss. So Volstad makes quick work of Pence. 2 outs.
And does it with real good sliders that time. I mean, if you're struggling to get your sinker down out of the stretch, sometimes it helps to throw a breaking pitch because you really have to finish that slider to get it on that outside part of the plate. That may help him keep that sinker down as well.
Now the guy who had the game-winning home run in the 8th inning last night. It was a 9-2 final, but Ruiz broke a 2-2 tie in the 8th off Sean Camp. Just got it out. And they would tack on 6 insurance runs in the 9th. And a base hit into center. Rollins around third. And he will score, and Ruiz does it again. Philly fans here in the ballpark chanting Chooch. That's his nickname. 1-0 Philadelphia.
Very similar career arc for Chooch Ruiz and Yadier Molina in St. Louis. Both came up as real good catch and throw guys that handle a pitching staff. Let's take a look at our Xfinity catcher profile. Protecting home for the Phillies, Carlos Ruiz, 7 home runs this season. His career high is 9. And you see the fielding percentage since he entered the league in 06. And as I said, very similar to Yadier Molina in that they were both defensive specialists that have blossomed into offensive forces in the middle of their lineups. Xfinity Home offers state-of-the-art features that help you stay connected to your home and family anytime, anywhere.
Ruiz leads all catchers in batting average and slugging. And he just gave the Phillies an early lead. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count on Ty Wigginton, who's playing third tonight. Second time this year Volstad has faced the Phillies. 3 starts ago he got a no decision at Philadelphia. 6 innings, 4 runs. Now, we mentioned this during that start that Chris Volstad didn't mind Ryan Howard not being in the Phillies lineup. Ryan Howard in his career is 13 for 26 with 8 home runs.
Ouch.
Against Volstad.
I'll tell you what, Len, pretty much anybody that comes out of that first base dugout has good career numbers against Volstad. Some of them gaudy.
Howard on the DL. Recovering from left Achilles surgery. Chase Utley coming back from knee issues, also on the shelf. Two and two. Runners take off, and it's low and outside. And a double steal engineered by Victorino and Ruiz. 3 and 2. And Victorino always picks his spots well. Payoff delivery, bases loaded for Luna. Shane Victorino is now 31 for his last 34 in stolen base attempts, and did not even have to deal with a throw from the catcher. This team's always run well, haven't
yeah, they really do. What they do so well is take advantage of a pitcher's disinterest in the base runners. Volstad just fell into a rhythm out there, get the sign, come to a set position, throw the ball home. And Victorino saw it, read it, and got a great jump.
Luna with his first start as a Philly, and the first Philly to hit a grand slam in his first plate appearance with the team since Gene Freese in 1959. It was in the 9th inning last night. First career grand slam and the second career pinch hit home run for Luna. Brought up from AAA on Friday. He was playing for Ryan Sandberg at Lehigh Valley. Didn't bite on the slider. 2-1. First big league time since 2010, when he was Chris Volstad's teammate in Florida briefly. A Philly fanatic fan. 3-1. Nowhere to put Luna. He's sitting in a good spot here. 3-1 with the bases loaded. Just foul. And he broke his bat in the process. He lined that one right over Shane Victorino.
Just enough late movement on that sinker to get in on his hands. Broke the bat. Still hit it with a lot of authority down that third baseline. Shane Victorino thanking his lucky stars that that one didn't get him in the forehead. feel obligated to point it out that the runner leading off from third base, that's why you lead off in foul territory. If he happens to get struck by a ball, batted ball, it's just foul. If he's in fair territory and gets struck by a batted ball, he's out.
The 3-2 pitch on the way, and he popped it up. Foul territory. Wellington Castillo makes the catch. Believe it or not, they only got one as Volstad escaped. Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. David DeJesus has hit an 8 straight. Campana, Castro, Leher, Alfonso Soriano. You see what he's done against Roy Halladay. We've got another interesting statistical note on him coming up. Stewart, Castillo, and for Soto, as Bob mentioned. Darwin Barney at second, and Volstad the pitcher.
Take a look at the Phillies defensively tonight. Juan Pierre, Shane Victorino, and Hunter Pence across the outfield, left to right. Ty Wigginton at third. Jimmy Rollins and Freddie Galvis will make up the double play combo up the middle. Hector Luna at first base tonight. Carlos Ruiz behind the dish for 2-time Cy Young winner, right-hander Roy Halladay. An 8-time All-Star, had 2 All-Star game starts. He's finished in the top 5 in the Cy Young voting 7 times. Top 5 in the ERA race 7 times. Led the league in complete games 7 times. But has struggled against the Cubs.
6 starts, 5 losses. He hasn't been bad. He just hasn't won against the Cubs. David DeJesus hits that ball to very deep center. Victorino back on it and over his head. And DeJesus is going to hold with a leadoff double. That's been his forte here lately, leading off innings with extra base hits. Hit streak up to 9 in a row.
Well, you use that term squaring up a pitch a lot in the game nowadays, but David DeJesus lately has squared up more pitches than anybody in this Cubs lineup. Drives this ball way out there to center field, directly over the head of Shane Victorino. And as we've seen him do many times, had thoughts about going for third, put the pressure on the defense until he saw a good relay throw. Only then did he hit the brakes at second.
Here's Tony Campana, who shows bunt and takes ball 1. If you go back to the Cubs' 5-1 win over Halladay in Philadelphia back on April 27th, Campana got on in the 4th and the 6th. He stole a base in the 4th. And would later score on an RBI hit by Castro. And then in the 6th he got on, and it just looked like Halladay was distracted by the speedy Campana. The Cubs went on to a 5-1 win. There's the bunt. Halladay off the mound. He spins and gets Campana barely at first.
did he spin the wrong direction as he takes a look at third right there. That causes a lot of strain on your arm when you try to come back and throw to first base. Most pitchers will turn their back to the target right there, wheel around, and then make the throw, but Halladay spun the other direction. That is not an easy throw to make, but he gets it there just in time to get Campana.
So sacrifice for Campana, and Castro bats in the same spot as he did in the opening inning last night, with DeJesus at third and one out. In that at bat, he struck out against Kyle Kendrick. The Cubs would get their 2 runs on a Soriano 4th inning homer, and then did not have another base runner the rest of the night. The final 17 Cub batters, all were retired. And I'm sure Roy Halladay took note of that very aggressive Castro at bat, Bob, in this spot in the first inning last night.
Well, no question about it. We've talked about Starlin Castro and his amazing ability to get the bat on bad pitches, and more command type pitchers are bouncing breaking balls in front of home plate, bouncing breaking balls off the outside corner. They're just not throwing anything that he can get the bat on. Perfect example right there. Chuchuriz wanted that pitch in the dirt outside. Halladay, a command pitcher, is able to do that. Fortunately, that time Castro able to lay off. Well, when you have that amazing physical gift of hand-eye coordination, getting the bat on the ball, you feel like you can hit anything the pitcher throws.
Infield is back, and that will drop foul down the right field line. We gave a lot of the career accomplishments of Roy Halladay earlier. The more basic stuff. He's 6'6", 230 pounds, born in Denver, Colorado. And Castro lines to Juan Pierre. DeJesus tags, and we are tied. Sac fly for Castro.
Down and away. You could see Ruiz was down on his shin guards getting ready to block it, and Castro somehow gets the barrel on it, hits a rocket line drive right at Juan Pierre. Cubs are going to run on him every opportunity they get.
And now Brian LaHare, whose 32-game on-base streak ended last night. Pierre coming way in, and he makes a diving catch. So Pierre, who dropped that ball last night, robs LaHare of a hit. 1-1.
both teams on the board in the first inning. Juan Pierre slightly fooled by that drive off the bat of Brian LaHare, able to make a nice sliding catch coming straight in. See what's possible with AT&T UVerse high-speed internet. AT&T, rethink possible.
See if Volstad can settle down here in the second inning after a long first. Made nearly 30 pitches. Gave up just a run, though, as the Phillies left the bases loaded. Knocks it down and recovers to get Freddie Galvis.
Hopper, you see Starlin Castro was going to be able to make a play on that ball had Volstad let it go through, but his instincts took over, knocked it down. Nice recovery and a good throw to first for the out.
And a strike on Halliday. He turned 35 3 days ago. Where's number 34 as he pokes one into right. Host your guests in luxury in the Budweiser Bleachers. The Budweiser Bleachers Suite features a sports bar atmosphere with new TVs, bar-style tables and windows that open to give you the atmosphere of the bleachers in your own private room. The suite can hold up to 100 guests and includes food, drinks, and parking. For more information, visit Cubs.com/suites or call 773-404-4200. That single by Halliday, his 4th hit of the year.
His first in 7 starts against the Chicago Cubs. I guess he figures if his offense won't score runs for him, he'll have to take it upon himself.
The Phillies have actually lost Halliday's last 5 starts. He's only had one bad one during this stretch, really all year. Halliday's made 8 starts and has had 7 quality starts. And still just 3-3. Volstad again looking for his first win as a Cub.
One bad start for Doc, as they call him, came against the Atlanta Braves. Went 5 1/3, gave up 12 hits and 8 earned runs in that ball game. But every other start gave his team a chance to win.
In the dirt, just as that pitch was being delivered, Ian Stewart moved about 8 to 10 feet to his left, even more off the line. Ball 4. The reaction of Volstad, he did not want to walk Jimmy Rollins. Here comes Juan Pierre, who was retired on a very nice defensive play by Starlin Castro in the first.
Pierre will show bunt at some point tonight. He'll probably try to bunt for a base hit at some point in the ball game. Big part of his offense.
He had to make the Phillies roster as a non-roster invitee to spring training. And a particularly familiar spot for Pierre to be in. Foul, just foul. Vic Carpazza had to make that call while getting out of the way.
That slashing drive off the bat of a left-hander. Unfortunately, I played a little third base in my career, and that ball comes off the bat with funky English, and it takes hops, and every time it hits the ground, it moves closer and closer to that third base line. That time into foul territory, fortunately.
Saying he can't find it, but Chris just doesn't have command of much of anything right now. He's walked 3 guys already. That one was where he wanted it, where Castillo wanted it. And there's Pierre able to fight it off. Still 2-2.
Yeah, Pierre's one of those hitters. He doesn't walk very often, but he doesn't strike out very often. He'll take some funny looking swings at times to put the ball in play with 2 strikes. Volstad just hoping for an easy ground ball right at somebody.
A line drive base hit, and the bases are loaded. The second straight inning. Halladay held by Juan Samuel at third.
A lot of traffic on the bases here in the first 2 innings. Cubs were fortunate to get out of that top half of the first with only 1 run scoring. This is really playing with fire, though, coming up to the middle of the Phillies lineup with the bases loaded.
Dale Swain talked about base runners the other day, and the idea of getting to the middle of your order for the 5th time in a game. So when you do that as an offense, you rarely lose, and this is already the 12th batter Chris Volstad has faced. He's only gotten 4 outs. Let's see where the out will go this time. First base, unassisted by Brian LaHair. Halladay scores, and it's 2-1 as Victorino will get an RBI.
Obviously, that's a risky run when you've got a lot of runners on base. In this case, bases loaded in each of the first 2 innings. Doesn't take a base hit to score a run. That time just a ground ball right at first. No chance to turn the double play. LaHair could only get the out at first, but the Phillies right back on the board.
Volstad's not out of it just yet either. 2 more guys in scoring position. He got Pence to swing and miss at 3 pitches in the first inning, but missed on a slider that time. Cubs hosting the White Sox tomorrow afternoon right here on WGN Sports. Showdown in the city at 12:30. Bob and I will have the call. First pitch at 1:20. White Sox are getting on a plane right now. There's a base hit. They're going to get 2. Rollins in, followed by Juan Pierre, and it's 4-1.
After throwing Hunter Pence 3 really good sliders in his first at bat, he rolled one up there that just hung on the inside part of the plate. Castro had shifted over a little bit in the hole between third and short and just couldn't get there with a dive as that grounder made its way into center field.
What a big inning allowed by Volstad. 3 for the Phillies here in the second. And when you're facing Roy Halladay, you just can't give them much. inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. The White Sox beat the Angels 6-1. Chris Sale improved to 4-2. Albert Pujols hit his 3rd homer. A solo shot in the 6th. But the White Sox get a split, and they're flying back from Southern California late tonight, getting ready for that day game tomorrow. Philip Umber never did go to Anaheim for that 2-game trip. He stayed here to get some extra rest. He'll face Jeff Samardzija tomorrow. Opening day starters on Saturday, Danks and Dempster, and then Peavy and Mahalam also on WGN on Sunday. Into center for a hit, and Ruiz is 2 for 2. It's 4 singles here in the second, and it forces Chris Bosio to get on the phone. The Cubs made a roster move before the game today, as right-hander Blake Parker was summoned from AAA, and left-hander Scott Maine, after 1 appearance, is headed back to Des Moines. It's like Casey Coleman has a baseball in the Cubs bullpen. Phillies have won 4 in a row for the first time this year, and they lead 4-1 tonight. Outside corner, 1-2. We're only in the 2nd inning, and this next pitch by Volstad will be his 57th. It's working Wigginton away. Tries it again and gets the swing and a miss to finally end the inning. But the Phillies now lead 4-1 in the 2nd. Alfonso Soriano will lead it off for the North Siders. And it is our pleasure to have with us in the booth Paul Epstein. As Soriano swings at the first pitch, and Jimmy Rollins will get him. Paul is the brother of Cubs president of baseball operations Theo Epstein and co-founder of the foundation to be named later. One of my favorite names in terms of a charity. Paul, welcome to Wrigley Field. Great to see you, and we're here to talk about a wonderful event coming up in June.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
4 weeks from tonight, right? June 14th at Metro, right up the street on Clark.
Absolutely. We're going to be having our first Chicago-based charity fundraiser concert for Foundation to be named later and for Cubs charities.
Hot Stove Cool Music Chicago, the inaugural event here, but it's been going on in Boston for a long time.
Yeah, it goes back actually over 10 years. 2000 was the first one. This is a series that was started actually by Peter Gammons.
There's a flare out into left for a base hit.
So the concert predates the foundation to be named later. We were able to start our charity foundation in Boston in 2005, and the concert existed before that, and we sort of joined forces about 7 years ago.
There you see the details of Smashing Pumpkins. So we've got a Chicago flavor. Billy Corgan, a huge Cubs fan. The Figs, who've helped out in Boston. Jenny D and the Delinquents. Members of Buffalo Tom. Bill Janovich, the lead singer of Buffalo Tom, has been heavily involved in Hot Stove Cool Music over the years. And I got to tell you, Paul, getting to know you and Elise Najimi and Michael Creamer, who's booking all the bands, and Jeff Horrigan, who with Peter Gammon started the Hot Stove Cool Music idea. It has really been a wonderful process. Unfortunately, the inning's over. Can you hang with us for a couple more minutes?
Sure, I can.
We'll talk more about Hot Stove Cool Music with Paul Epstein coming up. 4-1 Phillies.
WGN TV is brought to you by Bud Light. It's a sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
Short night for Chris Volstad. He went just 2 innings. Casey Coleman had been starting at AAA, so he should be able to go a few innings here. Cubs trail 4-1, and we're visiting with Paul Epstein, co-founder of the foundation to be named later, and a big part of Hot Stove Cool Music Chicago. And Paul, when Theo got hired by the Cubs, to be honest with you, it was one of the first things I thought about. Hey, the Red Sox are coming to Wrigley Field in June. Let's give Theo a big rock and roll welcome to Chicago. And the stars just kind of aligned.
It's going to be a great weekend. It really is. The fact that it coincides with the Red Sox Cubs series should be a lot of fun.
So tell us about your foundation and all the millions of dollars that have been over the years, and the charities that have benefited.
We were able to get that started actually right in sort of the afterglow of the Red Sox winning the World Series. We were in spring training 2005. We knew we wanted to do something for the community. decided to formalize it by starting a foundation. And the story of the name, we were kicking around some names in his office in spring training, trying to, we need a catchy name for this charity here. And kind of got tired of thinking of names. He said, whatever, we'll just name it later. And there you go, foundation to be named later.
There's been a few players later involved in
That's right.
deals, so it's a perfect name. And you are a social worker by trade.
Yes.
Theo's in the baseball business. He plays a little guitar, so you got all the three things together. It's perfect.
We do, but he does share my interest in helping the community and working with kids in particular. So our mission in our charity is to help disadvantaged youth in and around Boston, and now, fortunately, also in Chicago.
And as you said, Chicago Cubs charities will also benefit.
Unfortunately, the concert did sell out in about 4 minutes, I was told.
That's fortunate and unfortunate.
It is
right.
fortunate,
yeah.
You're right. But for people that would like to learn a little more or help out, you can certainly go to Cubs.com or foundationtobenamed.org and learn a little more and perhaps even make a donation.
3-2 on Hector Luna. And he gets a hold of one here. Campana will get there. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. And we should note, while Paul and Theo are twins, you're actually a minute older, correct?
I am about 60 seconds older. We're fraternal twins, and he's got a little more hair on his head than I do.
But how much taller are you?
I've got a few inches on him. I've got him in height, good looks and intelligence. He's got me in the wallet and musical ability, maybe. Yeah.
Soriano going after this one, and he will get there to retire Galvis. Nice play by Soriano. And you're an athlete too. Tell us about your athletic endeavors.
Yeah, I like to joke that I'm almost a full-time charity athlete. I'm always finding different athletic things to do while raising money for good causes. So I know the Cubs actually have quite a few events like that, a bike ride and a road race that I'd like to take part in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You played soccer in college, right?
Did play some soccer. Theo was a great soccer player too, and he went to Yale. I think he could have played there, but he didn't try out for the team. But he was excellent and a good baseball player in high school.
There's Roy Halladay. I'm sure you've gotten a long look at him, having pitched in the American League East for all those years.
Absolutely.
Well, you're going to catch White Sox Cubs tomorrow here at the ballpark?
We will be here for that. Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We always look forward to that weekend. And again, hot stove cool music coming up. Hope you got your tickets June 14th at Metro. And we also, Paul, we want to thank the Cubs for being so supportive. And Joe Shanahan, the owner of Metro, the iconic rock club here in Chicago. And as we talked about where this event should be, every band that has either played Metro or hasn't played Metro wants to play it.
Absolutely. It's the perfect venue. It's very much like the venue that we have our concert in Boston called the Paradise, that the Boston fans will know about that venue. And we're thrilled to be at the Metro.
Are you going to play with us?
I will not be on stage, and Theo is going to get up there, and I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. He's going to play the one chord that he knows over and over again, and who knows, maybe he'll get up there with Billy Corgan or something. But
that would be great.
Peter Gammons will be up there.
Yeah, he's a very accomplished musician. Paul, thanks for stopping
by.
We
much,
appreciate
guys.
it very much. And again, 4 weeks from tonight, we're going to rock the house over at Metro for a great cause.
free on WGN America. Know that during every Cubs home game this season, if you go to channel 780 or high def channel 1780, you can see a special multi-view presentation that shows you all of our different live camera angles right here at Wrigley Field. It's pretty cool. So if you want to direct the game along with Skip Ellison, give a look to AT&T UVerse channel 780 or high def channel 1780.
Cubs trail 4-1, trying to avoid their third consecutive loss. Phillies have already gone through their lineup twice. Darwin Barney's getting his first at bat. And Bob, there are going to be a lot of questions now about, and there already have been, about Chris Volstad's situation in terms of his spot in the Cubs rotation. 8 starts, and he's still looking for a really good one as Barney grounds out. We mentioned our AT&T UVerse multi-view. This is what it would look like as Casey Coleman steps to the plate. Strike 0-2. I'll tell you what, it makes me glad I'm not directing. I couldn't figure out where to go next.
Oh, that's a good shot. Oh, that's a good shot. Oh, I like that shot. I'll go back to the other shot.
This is what Skip Ellison gets to look at and choose from. One-two from Halladay. Got him. Called strike 3. So there it is, your AT&T UVerse multi-view. Jesus doubled to lead off the game and scored on the sac fly by Castro. I'd like to tell you Roy Halladay doesn't do well when he gets 4 runs in support, but that would not be the case.
Oh man, just ridiculous numbers when he gets 4 or more runs of support.
Only 9 losses in his career, and his team has given him what he's gotten tonight or better. On the ground and through. So DeJesus stays hot. Well, there's still a long way to go. We're only in the 3rd inning. We'll try to peck away here and hope the bullpen, which struggled last night, can hold him. And DeJesus takes off, and he's out. You heard the Phillies yelling at Roy Halladay to step off. He did, and he gets DeJesus to end the inning.
with a 4-1 lead. Greg Gibson, in an effort to get into a good position to make that call at second base, very nearly walked into that pickoff attempt by Roy Halladay. His throw was to the shortstop side of the bag, and Gibson was so focused on the base and the sliding runner and the tag, he nearly walked into that pickoff attempt.
Rollins has done what a good leadoff hitter does, get on base, and he's robbed of the hit by Darwin Barney. Rollins with a single, a walk, 2 runs, but makes an out for the first time, and maybe cracked his bat, so gave it to a Philly fan in the front row.
Right off the end of the bat. Good sink away from him that time by Casey Coleman. Little floater snared by Darwin Barney for out number 1.
We'll spend the rest of the night studying every nick on that bat. Casey Coleman probably work a few innings in this game tonight. Bob, you know, one guy's struggles or one guy's injury oftentimes is another man's opportunity. And I know Casey's just trying to keep his team in the game, but who knows, he could be auditioning for a possible start here in 5 days, depending on how things go.
I mean, as far as Chris Volstad goes, it's been frustrating. I'm sure it's been very frustrating for him as well, but you'd like to see some kind of improvement along the way, but it just seems to be the same thing as that line drive is snared by Starlin Castro. Hey, Cubs fans, if you want to manage a game along with Dale Swaim, log on to WGNTV.com right now and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you're watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more.
Dorino showed bunt and took ball 1. Well, results obviously matter the most at this level. But at mechanics and those kinds of issues aside, Bob, I think Volstad just needs a win. And whether that's here or AAA, his confidence has to be struggling big time. I mean, it's now 19 consecutive starts without a win. That has to be excruciating for a guy like Chris Volstad to go through. So you'd like to just see him have some success somewhere, regardless of where it is. He wants it to be here. That remains to be seen. 4-1 Phillies. hit the air. The showdown in the city tomorrow as the Cubs host the White Sox. And WGN at 1 on Sunday. Ford, manufacturers of more fuel-efficient vehicles than any other brand. Check them out at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. Rich King will hit the air at 12:30. Here from the friendly confines is Tony Campana. Has to make sure those wheels are working.
He's fouled a couple of foul balls off of his legs in this series, this short 2-game series. Fouled one off his left knee, the back knee last night. Not sure exactly where this one gets him. Nearly got him on the knuckles. That cutter just continued to run inside.
Swing and a miss. Strike 3.
Stay tuned for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Captain Morgan. Raise your glass, always in moderation, to life, love, and loot. Tonight it'll be the Sarge, Gary Matthews, moving down a couple of booths to join us for the 7th inning stretch.
Breaking ball, strike. Bounced to Jimmy Rollins, who backhands and gets Castro. Cub fans, make sure you check out our WGN Baseball blog on WGNTV.com. It's brought to you by Jeff Vukovich, nationwide agent, serving the area for 33 years. Contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. I have a post on the pitching matchup tonight. We have game notes from stats and much more. WGNTV.com. Of day baseball today. The Giants earned a series split with the Cardinals 7-5 the final. Matt Cain over Adam Wainwright. Molina and Holiday homered for the Cardinals in a losing cause. Unlike the White Sox, the Cardinals will actually stay on the West Coast for the weekend. 2-2 on Brian LaHair, who last night had a 14-pitch at bat. And according to our friends from Stats, it was the longest Cubs at bat in terms of pitches seen since Ronnie Cedeno had a 16-pitch at bat against Fernando Nieve of the Houston Astros in 2006. Talking to Brian before the game, he said, "How many pitches did I see last night? You think I saw 30? I'll tell you what, I think it was close. I think he went 3-2 on his first at bat, then had the 14-pitch at bat in the 4th inning. Struck out in the 9th, but took some pitches. That one was off Halladay, and a barehanded play by Rollins. Looks like Halliday's all right. It'll go 1-6-3 to end the inning."
Bank, member FDIC.
Top 5. Casey Coleman has worked back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings since coming in for Chris Volstad, who only completed 2 tonight. Deep to left, and Soriano won't get this one. He'll have to play it out of the vines. That's a leadoff double. Second hit tonight for Pence.
Well, you see where Wellington Castillo was set up way off of that outside corner, because Hunter Pence will chase bad breaking balls, but that one caught enough of the plate that he was able to keep it fair down into that left field corner.
Comes Ruiz again. Average up to 355. And he fouls that one into the upper deck, right side. Wild game at Colorado today, and the Diamondbacks beat the Rockies 9-7. Justin Upton, big game-winning homer in the ninth. Gets past Castillo, and Pence will head to third.
Fastball in the dirt. Castillo just tries to pick it backhanded, like a first baseman might pick a throw out of the dirt. Unfortunately, hits the side of his mitt, gets all the way through to the bricks. Cubs will have to bring their infield in.
What was Bob Rosenberg's call on that?
Wild pitch.
Punched out into right. Ruiz is 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs, and it's 5-1. Stop it, Carlos.
Man, I'm telling you. You know, obviously Chase Utley and Ryan Howard on the shelf, and you know, generally when you play these Phillies, you worry about those two guys. You worry about Hunter Pence. You worry about Jimmy Rollins at the top of the order. But Carlos Ruiz is the guy that's doing a lot of damage here in this short 2-game series, as well as the series back in Philadelphia earlier this year.
I don't know if this is how Charlie Manuel envisioned his lineup, sans Howard and Utley, but I think at its best,
let it go, let it go, let it go.
It's gonna stay foul. That ball, as you mentioned, almost came all the way back into fair territory. That would have been embarrassing for Wigginton.
Chalk up that cue right there. He hit that one right off the very end of the bat. A lot of side English. It tried to come back. It was over in the grass and starts working its way back toward the foul line with that English. At that point, you might as well let it roll all the way to the bag. Wigginton was still standing in the batter's box.
Popped left into short center as Campana has an easy play.
It's time for the Chevy Youth Baseball League of the Game, and today we want to recognize Raymond Chevrolet for their support of Waukegan Youth Baseball. Raymond Chevrolet and your local Chicago and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers are supporting leagues and young ball players in their communities through the Chevy Youth Baseball program. From the big leagues to the youth leagues, Chevy is truly the official vehicle of baseball.
Luna is 0 for 2. Today, Bob, is the 33rd anniversary of a wild game here at Wrigley Field. May 17th, 1979. Phillies 23, Cubs 22. And I have to give credit to Mark Stencil from our production truck. I was talking with Gary Pressey, the organist here at Wrigley Field. Gary pointed out 3 pitchers who pitched in that game would end up getting the final out in 3 different World Series, as Castro had to find the ball in the dusk. And it is our Illinois Lottery Anything's Possible moment. Anything's Possible moment brought to you by the Illinois Lottery, who each day make anything possible. 11 homers in that game. Tug McGraw got the final out of the 1980 World Series with the Phillies. Bruce Sutter, who would later get the final out for the Cardinals in '82, and Willie Hernandez for Detroit in 1984, all pitched in that game.
If you're a fan of offense, that was your dream game right there. 50 hits.
Larry Bowa went 5 for 8. Gary Maddox went 4 for 4. 3 other guys for the Phillies had 3 hits. Ivan DeJesus 3 for 6. Mike Vail 3 for 5 for the Cubs. Billy Buck 4 for 7.
Doesn't sound like there were any offers.
No.
No.
Randy Lurch and Dennis Lamp, the starters, each got 1 out.
I could just envision that game. You know, that back in the days of all-day games here at Wrigley Field, and plenty to do at night in Chicago. I imagine some of those relief pitchers were looking forward to a nice quiet afternoon in the bullpen.
There's a base hit by Galvis, sending Ruiz to third. New in 2012 is Cubs Authentics, the premier outlet for special MLB authenticated Cubs memorabilia. From game-used baseballs, bases, and jerseys to autographed bats and photos, Cubs Authentics has the most exclusive Cubs memorabilia. Visit the Wrigley Field Concourse, the Cubs store, or email CubsAuthentics@Cubs.com for all your Cubs memorabilia needs. Roy Halladay with a 2-hopper to Darwin Barney. Phillies get 1 and lead 5-1 midway in the 5th.
Keith's favorite song, Donna Summer, passed away today. The great diva of disco. That's on the radio. That's our Bud Fan Cam, brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds.
Cubs with only 3 runs in the series, 2 on a Soriano homer last night. One and two. And it'll be Pence coming out of right field to make the grab. And the 5th inning is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank, member FDIC. Sad news this week. Former White Sox pitcher Kevin Hickey, a Chicago native, passing away this week at 56 years old. Able to pitch for his hometown White Sox from 1981 to 83, later with the Orioles. Pass along our condolences to his family.
He was a grinder. He was definitely a guy that beat the odds. Nobody suspected that he was going to pitch in the major leagues. He had a lot of friends in this game.
One, two to Stewart is low. Mets put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the 8th. At one point they were down 4-0. They beat the Reds 9-4 in New York. Slicing drive out to left. Juan Pierre is there. 2 hands on it. 2 outs. And let's go first to third as we continue to look around the bigs on this Thursday evening. Jamie Moyer last night with the Rockies with win number 105 since he turned 40. Incredible. Adam LaRoche. Big 3-run double for the Nationals last night. And again, the Mets improving to 21-17 as they beat the Reds. The Reds will stay in New York and play the Yankees this weekend. Tap down the third base line, picked up by Pat Listash, Cubs third base coach.
A rare treat for any coach at the major league level. Pat Listash had a few days off from throwing batting practice. He was throwing a little bit harder than normal today. I asked him, boy, you feeling your oats today, huh? And he says, I should. I've had 3 days off.
Called strike 3 to end the inning. Halladay with a comfortable 5-1 lead as we enjoy some more Donna Summer as we go to break. continues to be the PNC Club of Chicago. Tickets in this exclusive club come with added benefits, including VIP parking. Your guests will enjoy an all-inclusive top-shelf bar and gourmet food in a climate-controlled suite with celebrities and former Cub players. For information, contact the Premier Sales Team 773-404-4200 or Cubs.com/Premier. Casey Coleman to Jimmy Rollins. Breaking ball missed, ball one. Probably the last inning for Coleman, his spot due up second in the sixth. And he's already given Dale Swaim 3 innings.
Casey is one of the better hitting Cubs pitchers. It just depends on how much Dale wants to get out of his bullpen, how winnable he thinks this game is against Roy Halladay at this point.
Comebacker caught the inside corner.
Well, that pitch caught plenty of plate right there. Casey Coleman with real good movement. Jimmy Rollins right on top the plate, reacts, and then that ball tails back over the white part of the plate for a called strike.
Juan Pierre is 1 for 3. Slaps a bunt down the first base line, and Coleman has nobody to throw to as Laher kind of got caught in no man's land. So Pierre with a base hit.
Well, that's an instance where I think Brian Laher has to understand. Casey Coleman, as I just mentioned, a good hitter. He's also a good athlete. Look how quickly he gets off the mound, but nobody to flip to at first base. As a corner infielder, you really need to know the capabilities of your pitcher, so you know when you need to come in and make the play and when you can go back to your base and let the pitcher make the play. That was just a real good bunt, though, on the part of Juan Pierre.
Ooh, almost got picked off. He's holding gloves in an effort to avoid a jammed finger. Looks like he already jammed a digit on that left hand.
Some base runners, the guys especially that go in feet first, have a bad tendency to drag your hands to help slow yourself down and to maintain your balance as you go into the slide, and it's very easy to hyperextend your wrist when you do that.
I would love to see a stat of how many times Juan Pierre has had to dive back into first in his career.
Well, it's his own fault. If he wasn't so fast and such a good base runner, nobody would throw over there.
It's true. Healthy lead over Ichiro among active base stealers.
I do think Casey Coleman has accomplished what he wanted to do, however. He's shown that quick move to first base. We've talked about the Phillies and how they pick their spots, and if Juan Pierre feels like he can't get a maximum lead and get a good jump, he's not going to run.
And help down there by veteran first base coach Sam Perlazzo. 2-1.
I mean, ideally, pitchers love to pick off the fast base runners at first, but really what you want to do is just keep them from running. Force them to shorten up their lead a little bit over there at first. Eliminate the idea of crossing over and trying to steal a base, and give your defense a chance to turn a double play behind you.
Change up outside. 3-1. With Pence on deck.
Yeah, you could see Pierre on the move here. A 3-1 count is a count a lot of managers like to run in, especially if you trust your hitter. If Charlie Manuel trusts Shane Victorino to take ball 4 or swing at a strike, you start the runner.
It is ball 4. That's the run and hit on the 3-1 as Pierre's helmet went flying.
Yeah, that situation, it's really more on the hitter than the base runner. As a manager, you have to trust that that hitter will take a pitch out of the strike zone. If it's around the edges of the zone or in the middle of the plate, you're going to have to swing at it just to protect the runner or to try to put it in play. And that time Shane Victorino laid off a tough pitch down low for ball 4.
Casey Coleman pitched at Florida Gulf Coast University and was a teammate of Chris Sale. Mentioned Sale got the win for the White Sox today. Casey was born in Fort Myers, Florida. 15th round pick of the Cubs in 2008. His family, the first in Major League history to have 3 generations of pitchers reach the big leagues. He's accomplished what his grandfather and his dad both did by getting here, and he'd like to do something they did that he hasn't done yet, and that is be an all-star. That means he's got to be here for good. Back and forth the last couple of years. A fly ball to left, Soriano coming in. 2 down.
Walk him. Sometimes you feel like that. I mean, it's pretty apparent through his first 3 at-bats of this ball game. Carlos Ruiz is very comfortable, seeing the ball well, reacting quickly to what he sees. 2 smoked line drive singles his first 2 times up, and then a opposite field base hit in his last at-bat.
The only good news about those numbers is after tonight he won't be able to add to them this season. This is it for the season set. He's a converted second baseman from Panama, signed back in 1998. Toward the hole, backhanded by Castro. They'll get the out at second. To end the inning, Phillies leave 2 and lead by 4.
Box score. David DeJesus led off the ball game for the Cubs with a double. He was sacrificed to third base by Tony Campana. Castro drove him in with a sac fly, and that's pretty much been it for the Cubs offensively in this game. For a limited time, get exceptional lease deals on a new 2012 BMW 3 Series. Visit ChicagolandBMW.com for more information.
Well, the Phillies bullpen, as good as it was last night, has really struggled this year. So you say, well, try to work up that pitch count, get Halladay out of there. Maybe you can dent the bullpen later. But this is like the worst matchup in that department. Halladay hasn't even thrown 60 pitches yet. And Bob, he doesn't even consider coming out of the game before at least the 7th, if not the 8th, if not the 9th. 66 complete games, by far the most among all active pitchers. He really is a throwback.
Yeah, he is. He expects to finish what he starts. Even on those days when he has less than his best stuff, he usually finds a way to grind through the middle part of the ball game, give his offense a chance to score some runs, and once you give him that lead, more often than not, he's going to bring it home.
Might see a major league debut tonight as Blake Parker's getting ready. Adrian Cardenas pinch hitting for Coleman. Well, 3 hours ago, he told reporters it's just starting to sink in. Blake Parker on a big league roster for the first time. Shallow center, and it'll be caught by Victorino. Barney back to first. I'd be pretty happy with what Casey Coleman did. 4 innings, 1 run.
You're the long guy in the bullpen, which right now is Casey Coleman's role with this team. You really get overlooked and underappreciated sometimes. As you said, 4 innings of 1-run baseball in what was quickly becoming a blowout ball game. But chances are, if the Cubs do get back into this game at some point, he's not going to be involved in the decision. He's just going to be a footnote of the ball game. 4 strong innings in relief of Chris Volstad. Turned the ball over to the rest of the bullpen. And ideally the Cubs come back and win it. Somebody else will get the win. But he did his job.
Jesus strikes out. 4 for Halladay. 1 in each of the last 4 innings. Well, nothing flashy about Roy Halladay tonight. He's just gone about his business. Giving up 4 hits. They've been scattered. No walks. Campana bunts. And he's tagged out on a nice play by Hector Luna. That ends the inning. Still 5-1 Phillies. He's getting ready for his major league debut. See his numbers at AAA Iowa. Saved 5 games. 26 years old in Fayetteville, Arkansas. 6'3", 225.
Hey, Chicago area Cubs fans, want to throw out the first pitch at a Cubs game this summer? Just go to any Chicagoland Dominick's and look for the code word at the Pepsi Max display. Then send WGN TV a postcard and you could be throwing out a first pitch at Wrigley. Pick your pitch from Pepsi Max, Dominick's, and WGN.
Cubs 16th round pick in 2006. He replaces Scott Maine on the roster. And Ty Wigginton. This is a breaking ball foul. Kind of a slurvy breaking pitch.
Yeah, through 233 minor league appearances, all in relief, he carried a 2.96 ERA. Big straight fastball that time, a 92 right down the chute.
Not terrible with uniform numbers, but you picked it up quickly. 55. That was Coy Hill's number.
Yeah, apparently the Cubs are not going to retire Coy Hill's number.
Swing and a miss. A strikeout against his first major league hitter.
They might retire Blake Parker's number. Good start to his major league career.
A little cutting movement, doesn't he, on that fastball?
He did on that one. Castillo wanted it up. He got it up and out over the plate with some movement away from Wigginton for the swinging strike. Nicely done.
Not exactly sure what the route was from Northern California back to Des Moines for the Iowa Cubs, who were off yesterday after a long journey from the West Coast. He got the call around midnight last night that he was coming to Chicago. I think they went from Sacramento to Fresno to Vegas to Denver to Kansas City and then bust, and I mean it was like right out of planes, trains, and automobiles.
The old milk
and
run.
You wonder why guys don't want to be at AAA. Man. Two strikes on Hector Luna. Once spring training ends, we erase all the numbers and the performances and say they didn't matter. But spring training is really for guys like Blake Parker. Dale Swain got a good look at Parker for the first time this spring, and you know, his name's brought up by Jed Hoyer and Theo Epstein in terms of a guy coming up. As a manager, you know what you have, at least what you saw in March. Castro spins and throws it away. That's a hit for Luna.
Nice play just to get to that bouncer up the middle. Castro spins and quickly gets rid of it with a strong throw. Unfortunately, way offline to Brian LaHare. That ball looked like it was through into center field. Castro closed ground quickly at the very end of the play, but just cannot get the throw on line.
Brings up a rookie second baseman Galvis, who's 1 for 3. I know people snicker sometimes when you know, late in a spring training game you've got 9 guys on the field nobody's ever heard of, but to be honest, for me, I've seen all the veterans. year after year after year. I kind of like seeing some of the prospects, not just Cub prospects, but other teams' young players who you might see later on. Fair ball, and LaHare steps on the base. It got Luna caught in a rundown. Tagged out by Starlin Castro. Here comes the Sarge with the stretch.
Tonight's guest conductor for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, Phillies broadcaster and former Cubs great Gary Matthews.
All right, Cub fans, let me hear you loud and clear. I got a couple of helpers. Here we go, Denver. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker juice.
Don't care if I ever get there.
Root for that. It's a shame, for it's 1, 2. It's like you're out at the old ball game.
Starlin Castro fouls away. Always great to see the Sarge. Gary Matthews back here at Wrigley Field, part of the Phillies broadcasting crew, and a great job with the 7th inning stretch.
Yeah, had some helpers.
Yes, you did.
Matter of fact, Dawson and Denver. Grandkids. You got to have grandkids now, don't you? No,
not yet.
They're great. And they go home.
They go home.
Oh, boy.
Castro gets a hold of one, and it will go for a home run. Way up in the bleachers. His 2nd of the year, and it's 5-2. This kid's going to be a good one, Sarge. He already is. 22 years old.
Wow.
Here's our Nissan drive of the game.
2nd home run of the season for Castro. Got a little bit out in front of it, but got the barrel on it with full extension. Great carry out there to left center field. Making a little bit of noise here against Roy Halladay, who has been cruising through this Cubs lineup since that 1st inning.
Get to a Nissan dealer for great deals on innovation. You can count on innovation for all.
I got to tell you, that was a pretty good pitch here. I mean, it wasn't like it was a hanger. You got to give him some credit going out to hit that ball off a dock.
Well, Sarge, you know there were a lot of good bad ball hitters back when we played.
Boy.
Guys that could go out of the strike zone and still get the barrel of the bat on the ball, and Castro is a throwback in that respect.
Yeah. Guerrero, he used to do that quite a bit. Come right out of there, ball on the dirt, he'd hit it. Over his head, he'd hit it.
LaHare goes the other way. Juan Pierre made the catch.
Wow.
He made the catch. Looked like a bobble as he got right near that side wall, and he was able to haul it in. He made two really good ones tonight after the drop last night.
That ball continued to slice away from him as he gets over into that left field corner.
Oh, how did he hang on to that?
Oh, man, that is a serious snow cone there.
There's no doubt about it. And as you know, here in Wrigley Field, there's no warning when you're going toward the line. You either catch it or go right into the bricks. You have guys out there like Doc, they'll make you run into a brick wall, let me tell you.
Broken bat. How many bats did you break a year, Sarge? Guys break.
Well, I broke bats. I broke
dozens.
my share, but it is not like this. And I think for whatever reason, the guys today, they like using a lot lighter bat. I understand Soriano is going to maybe a little bit lighter bat. But I've always felt, I don't know about you, Bob, it's up to the individual on, how he feels when he's going up there to the plate, on whether or not he can catch up to that fastball. How do you pull a ball like that?
He pulls everything.
Right back over his shoulder sometimes.
Well, you're not safe any place in the dugout there with them hitter. Holy cow.
Sarge, you were such a patient hitter. One year your on-base percentage was over 400. How did you learn how to wait for your pitch? Is that something that can be taught at this level, or do you just have it or you don't?
Good question there. Soriano gets a base hit. Simply Mike Schmidt. Mike was a big believer in on-base percentage and walks, and making sure that you didn't go out of the zone. And he was one of the better hitters that did that, and he preached that. Pete Rose was another one that preached the same thing. And I've always felt you get a collective guys on a team that are thinking the same way, you can wear that pitcher down mentally by doing the things that you should. It's not always about the hit. Your approach has a lot to do with setting up a pitcher and getting some.
And not to mention the fact, the more pitches you make that guy throw, the better chance he's going to make a mistake and hang one.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're fouling pitches off and fouling them off. I mean, I look at your first baseman, LaHare. I mean, what a great story for a kid to be able to do that. I'm really proud of him. I don't even really know him, but I'm proud of him because he stuck with it. And to be able to come and do this, get his chance, that's what it's all about.
Sarge, we've talked to you a million times, and I'm just trying to think of stuff I haven't brought up or asked you about your career. The one guy you wore out, and the one guy you couldn't hit.
Well, that's simple. Guy I couldn't hit, J.R. Richard. Another guy I couldn't hit, Nolan Ryan. But give me any of the left-handers, and I felt pretty comfortable. I really did. I mean, it's just, I wasn't a 300 hitter, but I got them sometimes. They got me. I mean, it's just one of those things.
So every left-hander you ever faced, you got, and you couldn't hit Ryan and Richard.
Well,
okay.
I felt more comfortable. Let's put it that way against, the left-handers. But,
sure.
When you're going up, and especially in Major League Baseball, you better take everybody serious because you'll have that comfortable 0 for 4 and wondering after the game, this guy got me out 4 times, like a Jamie Moyer. How about that story? Oh, you kidding me?
Well, how a guy feels and how he does are not necessarily the same things, as you know. You say a comfortable 0 for 4. Well, Halladay gets the double play ball. Sarge, always great to see you back here at Wrigley Field. summary. Chooch Ruiz with a game-winning homer last night. 3 more hits, 2 knocked in tonight. Rough one for Chris Volstad. He went just 2 innings, and Roy Halladay's going to lead off the Phillies' 8th. Visit your local Chicagoland Honda dealer today and test drive a 2012 Honda Accord. 4th at bat for Halladay, who sprays that one foul.
Inning started so promisingly for the Cubs with the leadoff homer, but Jimmy Rollins with a nice play on a low throw at second base, able to turn that one over. Jimmy Rollins, a very underrated throwing arm at shortstop. He's got a cannon. Doesn't showcase it a lot. He gets it over there just in time to get the runner, but when he needs to reach back and put a little extra on a throw, he can really whistle it across the diamond.
3-time Gold Glover. And Halladay has his 2nd hit. Not known for his offensive prowess. Well, Sarge was right about Nolan Ryan. Gary went 2 for 20 in his career against the Hall of Famer.
A lot of guys had numbers like that against Nolan. I wish we'd had another minute. I was going to ask Sarge the advent of the flipping off of the helmet. Yeah. You know, he'd get a base hit, and before he'd start down that first baseline, he'd flip that helmet off and take a sprint down the first baseline. Sarge took a violent swing. He swung at the baseball like he was mad at it.
Yes. Well, Cub fans certainly remember what he did for the '84 club. But he was actually the Rookie of the Year 11 years before that with the Giants, 1973. That's why he was asking you if you have grandkids. He was kind of hoping you were joining that fraternity.
Well, I had an odd career. You know, I played against guys like Sarge, and he mentioned Mike Schmidt. I played against Johnny Bench and Pete Rose, but it was all at the very tail ends of their careers and in the lost decade of the 80s, and by then I was out of the game. But a lot of the younger players who came into the game in the late 80s, early 90s, I caught the beginnings of their career, so very, very fortunate in that respect to play against some of the greats of the game, some Hall of Famers, and some guys that will go into the Hall of Fame when their careers end.
Well, Jamie Moyer, you faced him and he's still pitching. So that has to make you feel good. Right?
Makes me feel old.
I'm trying to think of who else could be. Omar Vizquel, maybe you played in a game against him, maybe in '89 with the Blue Jays.
Possibly. I don't recall. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
He would have been with Seattle, I think, at the time. Rollins walks.
Tickets are available now for the 2012 Cubs season, including the next series against the White Sox. Yeah, starting tomorrow right here at Wrigley. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com, call 1-800-THE-CUBS, or visit the Wrigley Field box office. I had to think about it for a minute, Len. I wasn't sure who we were playing this weekend.
Juan Pierre has not only picked up 2 hits, but he's made 2 excellent catches. One about a 7.5 and the other one a 10. And both times robbing Brian LaHair. Interesting, isn't it? Because he dropped the routine fly off the bat of LaHair last night. Castillo just couldn't get there.
It's kind of funny. We see Juan Pierre make those great defensive plays in the outfield. I was going to ask Sarge about one of the Phillies' young prospects, Dominic Brown. I think everybody assumed that he was going to take one of the positions in the outfield this year, probably left field. But just can't seem to consistently put his game together. Has some defensive issues in the outfield. I still think he's going to be a great player.
That gets past to Castillo, just located it. Swaim is out. I think they're trying to figure out to hit the bat.
Well, the pitch was not in the dirt. Talked about that natural cutting action that Blake Parker has on his fastball.
That's got to be a pass ball.
Yeah, it should be a pass ball. Castillo just missed that pitch. Maybe took his eye off of it when Pierre dropped the bat down into the hitting zone.
Outside, 2-1.
What you saw Pierre do there, and I'm not sure that's the exact reason why Wellington Castillo missed that particular pitch, but if you've got a teammate on first base who's attempting to steal, and you hold that bat out there in a bunting position and try to line it up between the catcher's eyes and the pitches that's coming to home plate, you'd be surprised how tough it is for a catcher to pick up the pitch. You try to raise up a little bit to look over the bat. You try to hunch down a little further to get under the bat. But the good hitters that know how to do that can get that bat right in your line of vision.
And they did change it to a pass ball. Charge to Castillo. Parker's 2-2, fouled off.
Field not playing all the way in with the pitcher Roy Halladay running at third base. Gives you the luxury of playing just a little bit deeper than you normally would in this situation.
Brandon Beachy with a complete game 5-hit shutout as the Braves beat the Marlins 7-0. Beachy leading the majors with a 1.33 ERA, 5-1. Braves now in first because the Nationals lost at home to Pittsburgh. Still 3-2 is Pierre hanging in there against Blake Parker. James McDonald took a no-hitter into the sixth and beat the Nationals 5-3 for his third win. I know you have a soft spot in your heart for Rod Barajas. He hit his third home run for the Pirates. Andrew McCutchen hit 2.
Typical Juan Pierre at bat here. He's fouling off pitches, staying alive. He will get into swing mode occasionally. When you get him to 2 strikes, he's going to swing at everything and hope that you throw something close enough to that strike zone that he can put it in play with authority. I mentioned before, he doesn't strike out often. He doesn't walk often.
Michael Bowden just starting to get loose. Halliday is going to hold at third as Barney gets Pierre. One out, and it's Victorino. Orioles won again, 25-14.
Rolling.
The Royals 5-3. Jim Johnson with his 14th save. Knocked down by Castillo.
There's another road win for the Orioles tonight. They are now 13-5 away from Baltimore.
Division looks upside down, doesn't it?
It really does.
Toronto swept the Yankees 4-1 the final tonight. First place Indians with an extra innings win, 6-5 over the Mariners. Carlos Santana with the RBI single. Cleveland erased an early 4-0 deficit. Quick feet by Victorino as he avoided that pitch. Right now only one team in the American League Central is over 500. That's the Indians. An inexplicable start for the Tigers. I and a lot of other people thought they'd win that division by a bunch. They still could, but they're 2 games under right now. They got swept at home on a 2-gamer by the Twins. Called strike 3, so Parker trying to get out of this inning, and he's an out away. Make sure you join us tomorrow as the White Sox invade Wrigley Field. Showdown in the city. Rich King will host 12:30 Central Time. Bob and I will have all the action as the Cubs host the White Sox, first of 6 in the Crosstown Series for 2012. Wow. Where was that one?
That was a case of Wellington Castillo set up on the inside corner, reached across. Ball ends up right down the middle of the plate.
Jeff Samardzija has been lights out at home. He leads the National League with a 0.81 home ERA. Philip Umber has struggled since his perfect game. And they'll kick off the weekend tomorrow. 3-1 on Pence. Ruiz on deck. First base is open, but he's killed the Cubs in this series.
Big cut from Hunter Pence, had the count in his favor. A couple runners on base. He doesn't want to walk. He's had 10 walks on the season in over 150 at bats, but with runners on base, he wants to swing it.
Swinging bunt, bobbled by Parker, throws it away, and the Phillies will get 2 runs. Throwing error on Parker, and all of a sudden it's 7-2.
Oh, that's too bad. Made a good pitch on Hunter Pence. Got the little tapper back to the mound. Just got a little ahead of himself there. Peaked. Bobbled the ball. Still had time to get Pence at first, but his throw is right back into the runner. Man, that's too bad.
Oh, so close. And that'll be it for Parker after 40 pitches. Be a double switch. So Michael Bowden will come in. We'll sort out the rest of the lineup when we come back. Alfonso Soriano. Reed will bat in the 9th spot. And Chicago area native Michael Bowden will do the pitching. Blake Parker in his major league debut nearly got through 2 innings. And one bad throw cost him a couple of unearned runs. 2 strikeouts and a walk in an inning and 2/3. Pence at second, 2 runs in here in the 8th.
The Cubs pitching staff, especially the starting rotation, has shot themselves in the foot so many times with shaky defense this year on bunt plays, on comebackers, pickoff attempts at first base. The rest of the lineup has tightened up defensively. Ball club has been much better this year with the leather than they were last season, with the exception of the guys on the mound.
Did some bunting drills today, and Matt Garza worked on his throws to first and had no problems. Let's hope that translates into game action his next time out. Well, you do like to have a crisply played game defensively after you work on it. And early BP and early defensive drills before the game. That'll be fair, and Ruiz has his 4th hit tonight. Pence is going to score. And it's 8-2 Phillies.
I don't know what it is about the Cubs that brings out the best in opposing catchers, but this is a couple of series, actually 3 series in a row. You think back to the Milwaukee series, Jonathan Lucroy came up with some big base hits. Yadier Molina down in St. Louis, and now Chuch Ruiz putting on a clinic here tonight.
The Cubs pitching staff, which recently went through a very good stretch. They had the best ERA in the majors over 17 games, April 21st through May 9th. But they've gone into a funk here since May 10th. Hits for the Phillies. And 12 last night. And a 9-2 win. Two and two. Well, we've seen Steve Clevenger on these last couple of homestands rehabbing from that nasty oblique injury. I think it was in Philadelphia, in fact, when he suffered that injury. He'd like to be back before the end of this month.
He'd been taking some easy swings in the cage, and Swain was hoping that if all goes well, he'd be able to head out on some kind of a rehab assignment sometime within the next week or 10 days. He was off to some kind of start with the bat.
I don't know if the Cubs would do it. It depends on when Clevenger's ready, but I think at least it'll be discussed of having 3 catchers on the roster, because Clevenger and Castillo could both play first base, and Clevenger could also play some other infield spots in a jam. But I'll tell you, I really liked his bat off the bench.
I mean, obviously the numbers were great. 11 for 22. I'm not great at math, but that's 500 batting average. But what you really liked was his approach at the plate.
And the inning is over as Wigginton strikes out. They get 3 unearned runs, however, and they've stretched their lead to 8-2. Cubs at Cubs.com. Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop the Cubs.com shop. John Mayberry Jr. now playing left for Juan Pierre. Roy Halladay still in there, working in the 8th inning. Mentioned 66 career complete games. He had 8 last year, but without one so far this season.
Pitch count is still in really good shape if Charlie Manuel.
Three and one. Left-hander Jake Diekman, who won in his major league debut a couple of days ago, up in the Phillies bullpen.
And then we use Fangraphs an awful lot in our preparation before a game or before a series, and it's really interesting to look at a guy like Roy Halladay and how he has changed as his career has progressed. He used to throw a lot more fastballs. 2-seamer, 4-seamer.
Launched to deep left center and gone. Wellington Castillo. Cubs with their second home run tonight. And it's the second career homer for Castillo. His first was back in 2010 in Florida.
A little foreshadowing of what we'll see here this weekend. Very little, if any, wind blowing at all right now at Wrigley Field. As the temperatures warm up this weekend, it should turn around and blow out. Castillo didn't need any help on that one, though. Halfway up the bleachers in left center field. Just to quickly finish that point on Roy Halladay, I mean, you go back to the 04 season as his third year with the Blue Jays. He threw 70% fastballs. This year in 2012 so far with the Phillies, 15.2% of his pitches have been either 2-seam or 4-seam fastballs. What's he throwing? Well, he's throwing the cutter 46% of the time, as opposed to 2.5% of the time back in 04. He used to throw a slider. He scrapped that completely back in 06 in favor of more curveballs. Used to throw a changeup. He scrapped that in favor of a split finger that he threw at the beginning of his career. So really interesting to watch how guys change in their approach, in their arsenal of pitches. I think Doc has figured out something that works pretty well for him.
I would say so. Cy Young winner in each league. Barney pops, and near the Philly bullpen it'll be Galvis as he stepped on home plate out there. One down. Gaylord Perry, Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens joining Roy Halladay. Cy Young winners in both leagues.
Gaylord Perry already in the Hall of Fame. At least 2 of the other 3 will go to the Hall of Fame. Roger Clemens has some issues to work out before that's discussed.
Halladay's well on his way. Here's Reed Johnson. These guys are former Blue Jays teammates. Halladay won his first 3 starts of the year and has not won since, covering 5 consecutive outings. So if he does get the win, it would be his first in a month and a day. I'm sure Reed Johnson has some good Roy Halladay stories in terms of great performances. under the camouflage of pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. Rollins with a throw that's low, but Luna digs it out. Well, you were there briefly in 1989. I'm sure it was a little more difficult for your family and friends to ever find you on television, right? Up there?
On what?
Yeah. I think the Blue Jays played in the game of the week very often.
I'll tell you, they should have. That was a really good Blue Jays team back in 1989 when I was there. Fans in Toronto don't even know I was there. I mean, the all-time career leaders in Toronto Blue Jays history just littered on that team. George Bell was a left fielder, Lloyd Mosby in center, Jesse Barfield over in right field, a young Fred McGriff at first base, Tony Fernandez, outstanding shortstop,
Dave Stieb,
Jimmy Key, Tom Henke was the closer.
Ooh. That'll be the inning. Castillo led off the 8th with a home run, but the Cubs still trail by 5. .500 for the first time since they won on opening day. And a called strike on Hector Luna. Cubs trying to avoid their 3rd straight loss as they head into a big weekend against the White Sox. Well, we're here in the 9th. It's 8-3 Phillies. And a pitch. That's low and outside. Bob, we want to congratulate a couple of Cubs minor league pitchers. Left-hander Chris Russin was last week's Pacific Coast League pitcher of the week, pitching for AAA Iowa. And left-hander Eric Jokic of Daytona was the Florida State League pitcher of the week. We also want to congratulate Aaron Stanton, Doug Stanton's daughter. Doug, our fine associate producer. Aaron graduating from the 8th grade. So Doug on family assignment tonight. Tamara Anderson filling in. Congrats to Aaron.
Absolutely.
2-2 count on Luna. Campana got an excellent jump and made it look pretty easy. Roy Halladay will not complete tonight's game. Former Cub Mike Fontenot has jumped into the on-deck circle. The bat for Halladay after Freddie Galvis.
As good as Doc Halladay was tonight, Halladay rather, Charlie Manuel's looking down the road. He's trying to save an inning here or an inning there wherever he can, because I think the Phillies feel that once they get back to full strength, they're not going to be in last place in that National League Eastern Division. They get big Ryan Howard and Chase Utley back, along with some of the players who have garnered a lot of playing time in their absence. I think Charlie's thinking much further down the road, and he wants a healthy Roy Halladay in that second half of the season.
Castro gets Galvis. Stay tuned immediately following our game. Micah Mater, Lourdes Duarte, Tom Skilling, and Rich King have the WGN News. Rich will be with us tomorrow with Showdown in the City. The Cubs last night started a long stretch of games against teams that are 500 and below. I mean, over a month's worth of games against teams currently without a winning record. But you know, you're playing the Phillies. Yeah, they're under 500, or they were when this series started, but you don't look at them as that type of team. I think we would both be shocked if they finished the year below 500 with their pitching staff.
Well, for Roy Halladay tonight, continues a trend that he's had against the Cubs. Even though he struggled to get wins against the Cubs, one thing he never does is walk batters. No walks in the ball game tonight, and coming into play tonight in 134 at bats, the guys on the active Cubs roster tonight had drawn a total of 1 walk in 134 at bats. Wow. That was Giovanni Soto.
Well, even though he didn't complete it tonight, he still leads the National League with 64 1/3 innings pitched. Here's a 3-2 to Fontenot, and he fouls off. Like recently added to the Phillies roster. He was released earlier by the Giants. And Dempster chatting with Giovanni Soto, who's battling some left knee inflammation and was a late scratch tonight. Maybe it's a sign that I'm getting older, but it seems like just yesterday Mike Fontenot and Ryan Theriot and Mark DeRosa and Jim Edmonds and that 2008 Cubs team winning a division for the 2nd straight year. It was 4 years ago. Some of those guys are out of baseball now. There's a base hit for Fontenot. There's so much turnover in this game, isn't there?
It really is. Especially with the economics of the game nowadays. Organizations have to make a tough decision in a lot of instances. Who can we keep? Who can we afford to keep? Who do we need to keep? Some players obviously chasing the almighty dollar. They'll go wherever they can make the most money, and you can't fault them for that.
Looking around the diamond. And the entire infield converging on this pop-up. Reed Johnson's the only guy on the field who was with that team in 08, but remember, he left and then came back later. Fan-friendly Jimmy Rollins. Roy Halladay came in 1-5 lifetime against the Cubs and had tied his career high with 3 consecutive losses. But he was vintage Roy tonight. Player of the game brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. He hasn't won it yet. Jake Diekman, a rookie left-hander, 2 nights ago got his first major league win in his major league debut. Got out of the 9th inning, pitched a scoreless 10th. And here he is for his second go-around, facing Tony Campana.
This is our first look at Diekman, but I can tell by that first delivery he is a funky lefty. Boy, really has some serious crossfire, low 3/4 arm angle. Got to be really tough on the left-handed hitters.
Be good in a hockey shootout. Jake Diekman. The Diekman. The 2-0 pitch is outside. 3-0. Nebraska native, went to Cloud County Community College in Kansas. I like the alliteration. Ball 4.
First 3 years of his professional career with the Phillies, he was a starting pitcher basically, but the last couple they took a look at that delivery. 92-mile-an-hour fastball from a crossfire sidearm delivery and said, I think we can make this guy a reliever.
Castro with a home run tonight and 2 RBIs. Diekman doesn't have to worry too much about Campana here. With his team leading by 5. He is being held on to keep the double play in order. Church Ruiz has something in his right eye. And one thing I've learned after working with you for 8 years, hard to catch when you can't see.
Yeah, it's a little tough to catch when you can't see. Unless you've got a really, really good pitcher on the mound that can just hit your glove. Then you don't have to open your eyes. He's had no trouble seeing the offerings from the Cubs pitching staff in this short 2-game series.
Quite honestly, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, considering the catcher sits there in a crouch in a dirt circle for 3 hours a day.
Just have to know when to close your eyes at the right time. There's so many freeze shots, the ball getting into the hitting zone and the catcher with his eyes closed. I mean, you track it just like a hitter until it gets into the hitting zone. And then it's not uncommon for a catcher's eyes to be closed just for a split second before that ball gets to the glove.
Campana took second. 2-1 on Castro. That is just a natural reflex. Fly ball out into left center. And John Mayberry makes the catch. He really glides out there, covers a lot of ground.
Long strides. Looked like that ball might sneak into the gap initially, but with those long strides, never took his eye off the ball, calls off the center fielder Victorino, makes a nice running catch.
He is a junior. His dad was a 2-time All-Star first baseman, played 15 years in the majors. John Mayberry Sr. Here's Jeff Baker batting for Brian LaHare, and late swing fouled it back to the edge of the screen. Joe Mather on deck in the pitcher spot.
I wouldn't read too much into this pinch hit appearance for Brian LaHare. 5-run ball game in the 9th inning. What a tough lefty out there on the mound. Jeff Baker hasn't had a lot of at bats lately. Just an opportunity to get the lefty killer in there and hopefully do something.
Good heat from Diekman, 2-2. Well, he put up some Sick numbers at AAA. Diekman. 15 innings, 22 strikeouts, only 3 walks, and 1 earned run.
He definitely has an unorthodox delivery, but he's got a real live arm. That fastball popping in there 92, 93 miles per hour.
He's walked 2 here in the inning. If he walks another guy, that guy's not going to be too pleased because he's going to have to get somebody up. And here's Mather. I was talking with somebody about this before the game, Bob, and you and I have discussed it in the past. You mentioned Roy Halladay didn't walk anybody tonight. Now, obviously, Diekman has not had Halladay's command, but he's walked 2. Why is it that when you're down 5 runs in the 9th inning, a lot of guys give you their best at bat of the night? They take pitches, they make the pitcher work. Why can't guys treat the 2nd inning in a 0-0 tie like they do when you need base runners down big late?
I can't answer that question. I really don't know. You think back in the history of this game, Pete Rose's name came up earlier.
He treated every at bat like it was.
Every at bat like it was the last one he was ever going to get in his life. Didn't matter whether it was the first at bat of the ball game or tie game in extra innings. Game 7 of a World Series. He approached every at bat exactly the same.
You just hear the line about guys keyholing in spots. I mean, if you don't get your pitch, you don't swing. You know, in this spot, you kind of are in the take a strike mode. But it's funny how it works out. You tend to draw walks and get a lot of good hitters counts when you do that. A flare caught by Galvis. Nice running grab. 2 down. Very athletic play by the rookie.
I mentioned it last night. He was the Phillies' Paul Owen Award winner last year, best player in their minor league system, filling in for Chase Utley. He recovers from a bunch of knee issues. Looks like they've got a little depth at that position.
It's up to Ian Stewart. And he got hit. Just grazed his jersey, I believe, and the bases are loaded for Wellington Castillo. And with that, I think the Phillies are going to have to get somebody up because a tying run's going to be on deck.
I see Jackets coming off down in that right field bullpen. Just does get a piece of his jersey.
The pitching coach, the underrated Rich Doobie.
What you're doing, kid, but you're making the skipper mad.
And the closer's up, Jonathan Papelbon. He got up last night, but then the Phillies had that big 9th inning and he did not have to pitch.
Well, the Phillies go back home to play the Boston Red Sox this weekend, so you know Papelbon wants to be rested and ready to go for that series.
He probably wants to pitch in all three if he can. Red Sox beat Tampa Bay tonight 5-3. Here we go. Castillo takes ball one low. Darwin Barney on deck. He has to score for the Cubs to have a chance tonight. And there's no margin for error. 2 outs in the ninth. Inside, 2-1.
Back in the 8th inning as the leadoff hitter in that inning, Wellington Castillo slugged his second career home run, a line drive about halfway up the bleachers in left field.
Cubs don't need a home run here. They need Castillo to not make an out. That is the #1 priority here. We'll go out and chat with the rookie before this 2-2 pitch.
Well, and talking about the at-bats at various points in the ball game, and you can really kind of mess yourself up. I mean, Wellington Castillo is not trying to not make an out. He's trying to hit a home run. There's no question about it. If you approach the at-bat, what does my team need me to do here, as opposed to what would I like to do here?
That's a fair ball. Campana, Baker, Stewart will all score. It's a ball game. The tying run will come up, and I don't think Jake Diekman will get a chance to face him. 8-6, and here comes Charlie, and he wants Jonathan Papelbon. That's a first hit of the inning, by the way.
Flat slider that ends up on the inside part of the plate. Castillo able to keep it fair down into the left field corner, where John Mayberry Jr. had some issues. As he bobbled that ball, you could see Listash initially was holding Ian Stewart, then he was waving Ian Stewart, then he threw up the stop sign, but it was too late.
Don't go anywhere. Was just kicking his feet up and relaxing when this inning started. His team was leading by 5, but Jake Diekman had command issues, walking 2, hitting another, and then gave up a 3-run double to Wellington Castile. So the tying run is at the plate. Papelbon's 10 for 10 in save chances. He's 2 for 2 lifetime against the Cubs in save opportunities. And Barney fouls off. And now James Russell is up in the Cubs bullpen just in case we get to the 10th. The 0-1, base hit center field. The tying run is on as Castile will score to make it 8-7. 4 2-out runs here in the ninth.
Ruiz wants it away. Papelbon throws it inside, off the plate inside, but Darwin Barney does such a good job of clearing his hips and that front shoulder, guides it back into center field for an RBI base hit.
Reed Johnson. As Diekman gave up 4 runs, book is closed on him. Here's a pitch. It is a strike. Johnson 0 for 2 against Papelbon. Papelbon signed a 4-year, $50 million contract to come over as a free agent. Reed bounced that one off his front foot down to his final strike. Well, it's not early April anymore. You talked about the wind or lack thereof, and even though he's down 0-2, we know Reed Johnson's hit some dramatic home runs as a Cub. Laid off the breaking ball. Johnson's the 8th Cub to bat in this inning. Ground ball, it's fair, picked up by Ty Wigginton, and that's it. And Papelbon pumped up as he gives the fist bump to his catcher Ruiz. He came on, faced 2 batters, gave up the RBI single to Barney, but gets Johnson on the ground out. Well, the Cubs got to within 1, but drop an 8-7 decision to the Phillies.